Hello, Internet, and welcome back to the Story Nook. I apologize, I am once again recording in my car, and it is raining because, Georgia's getting a lot of storming. So yeah. Also, there might, depending on how things go, I might just wind up living in my car. Not sure, but I am very much considering it at the moment. But today we are going to be reading more of a web novel. This is a fan translation of this web novel. It does have an anime. I highly recommend you go watch it. But it's called Villainess Daughter Aims for the Last Boss. And this is a fan translation that some fans have gotten together and worked on. And we're going to read Chapter 2. I have read Chapter 1 and the prologue previously, all translated by the same people. And they are in the Chrissy Reads playlist, but I will link them in the description below for you guys if you want to start at the very beginning. All that good stuff. So let's start with Chapter 2. There's no title to this chapter. I ended up recovering my past lives' memories due to the shock received from when my engagement was annulled by my fiancé. If I were to say either, my overprotective older brothers would call a doctor to check up on me, or my mother would think that my training was insufficient and that would prompt my mom to train me harder. That's why last night when I came home, even while feeling miserable after being abandoned by my fiancé, I decided to analyze the overall situation on my own. I was lucky last night. When I said to my family I have no appetite and is in no mood to eat, they probably thought I was still in a state of shock from my annulled engagement, thus refraining themselves from speaking further about my future plan. Thanks to that, I was able to avoid prying eyes and sneak out easily. Usually it was hard to go out of the mansion even at midnight thanks to excellent employees of the Ostrich Ducal House. I cannot pronounce words, I apologize. But this time when I said I wanted to go outside, no one said anything. In the first place, it'll be bad if they were to find out I'm actually heading out to meet the Demon King. Although my brothers doted on me, I doubted they'll let this go. There's also that father. I am Irene Lauren de Ostrich. That's my present name. The only daughter of the Ostrich ducal family, one of the greatest noble family in the Elmere kingdom, related to the royalty by blood. My father is the prime minister, my mother is the empress dowager's niece, a renowned duchess in the military and the aristocratic circles. Besides my parents and me, I also have 3 older brothers. Irene, who was the only and youngest daughter, grew up being doted by her family, especially by her infamous brothers. But Irene knew better. They doted on her not because she's the only daughter, but because she could never be their opponent. She felt like an outcast. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't be as brilliant as her brothers who excelled in any fields they learned. Her mother always admonished Irene, who seemed to be confused by her roles. She said us women are fighting a different fight than the men. Irene started to understand what her mother meant when she was 8 years old. It was when the grandson of the Empress Dowager, a prince by the name of Cedric Gian Elmer, knelt down before her, asking for her hand in marriage. She felt like she was on cloud 9. Cedric was such a wonderful man, and she thought if she were to be needed by such man, she felt it was necessary for her to become someone exceptional. If she gets married to him, she'll eventually become the queen. Her father told her that she needed to become someone extraordinarily special, to become someone worthy of the title of queen. That was the first time Irene was given some expectation from her family. I burned myself to the ground by studying hard on dancing etiquette, cultural studies. Forgive that sound, that is my phone receiving a text message and it's connected to the car Bluetooth. Cultural studies from economy to imperial politics, just to become someone helpful for him, assuming that we'll be in a dire position if we were to be attacked. In order not to become the burden, I also made an effort to learn sword techniques. If I can do a lot of things, Cedric will rely on me more. Everyone will also compliment me. That made me feel happy and pleasant. That's why I work harder to be better. As the cycle repeated, I didn't realize since when I had turned from the royal fiancé who can protect everyone to an arrogant lady who arrogantly instructs everyone. In the first place, I already have a strong desire to win due to me trying to compete with my older brothers. I couldn't give up on what I thought was right, so I always said what was on my mind, and my personalities were often misunderstood. Without realizing it, I became the most hated person in the academy, and I never sought the Cedric whom I thought to understand me the most would end up annulling our engagement. Maybe if I were to play the role of a cuter and weaker girl, I guess things would have been different. The present Irene, just a little bit, was able to make that kind of objective judgment, because she knew what kind of thinking she should have adopted from the game she had played. Honestly, I don't really care what other people think of me. Though I said that, it's not like I want to fix them now. Even when I have my past life memories with me. In the first place, even when the memories of my past life had come back to me, I could only think of them as fragments of my dream. The science and civilization were a lot more advanced at the place called Japan compared to this kingdom, but because I was bedridden all year long, and I wasn't able to enjoy my youth due to my short life, I barely have memories of that place. But certainly, I am an avid Otome game player, as the strongest feelings that I could remember from that place was. I want to enjoy my youth, and if possible, experience love and hope, like in the Otome games. Amongst all of the games I've played, there was a game called Regalia of the Holy and Devil Maidens. The game had integrated a maiden of the Holy Sword legend that was staged at a Western-style fictional country called the Elmir Kingdom, the present world where Irene lives. Inside the game, Irene was the fiancée of the hero Cedric, a captured character that required a high parameter to be captured. She was also the typical antagonist who used her high position as the Duke's daughter to obstruct the heroine's love path. When Lilia, who was known as the commoner child who just rose into nobility, entered the academy, she was inevitably harassed by the students, and as Cedric's capture route progressed, he will gradually lose his favor towards Irene, thus leading to the engagement annulment. I could laugh at the Irene who's in the game, but I can't laugh at the real Irene who's currently facing this reality. Even worse, as things progress as it is, Irene would die no matter what. In the so-called regular route of Cedric, the heroine Lilia would turn out to be the reincarnation of the Maiden of the Holy Sword and eventually be known as the Saintess, can't pronounce words, of salvation. But before that came to be, the Maiden of the Holy Sword needs to defeat the Demon King, who's going to be awakened as the last boss. The very same Demon King whom Irene just proposed to. Plagion Elimer. If the knowledge she obtained from the game was right, he is currently 24 years old, making him 7 years older than Irene. He was Cedric's older brother from a different mother and the former crown prince of the Elmir Kingdom. But according to the legend left by the former Maiden of the Holy Sword, He was the reincarnation of the Demon King, as he was born with red eyes, and has an immense power that no normal human being could handle. It is said that if someone dared to touch his inverse scale, an army of demons would come out of nowhere to annihilate his enemy for him. Above all, he was loved by the demons more than anything, and the demons would even readily sacrifice their lives for the sake of accomplishing his order. If that was not a demon king, I wonder what it was. The young Claude had faced numerous assassination attempts, but every time the attempt would fail because the demons would be protecting him. The humans spared no effort to prevent him from succeeding the throne, and finally compromised to ignore his existence if he were to live in an abandoned castle. Generally, most of his routes would awaken him as the Demon King and would stand before the heroine and her captured target characters. There's an ending in which he's going to destroy the country, and there's also an ending in which he'll be killed by the holy sword emerging from Lilia's body. And in the midst of all that chaos, Irene would be dead. There's a part where Claude, who became the Demon King, would be torn apart by some sort of ray of light. And there's also that part where he became the sacrifice in the Demon King resurrection ceremony. There's a lot more cruel narration of his death. Irene, on the other hand, since her biggest event was the engagement of normal event, the staff don't even bother about her character development afterwards. I mean, even if you kill her, the users won't even bother complaining about her death. It's not like everyone that was killed is just simple canon fodder. Take Irene as an example. She was a pitiful child, although she certainly had problems with her attitudes and behavior. But in actuality, there was only one person who was the root of all the problem in the game. While thinking about the situation, my consciousness gradually came to be. It was because I heard a voice. So, why are you taking care of this human girl? I have no ill will. I'm relieved, for a member of a royal family should treat women kindly. There were 3 voices, and all of them were men's voices. If I'm not mistaken, he has a follower from the demon side and a follower from the human side. In the CGs, they were both so handsome. I guess CGs mean content graphics from the game. While still in her half-conscious state, Irene was comparing her knowledge from the game and her reality. What prince? This man is a demon king, a being that shouldn't be compared to mere humans. This man is the first prince of the Elmere kingdom. I won't give up on him, you know. One day I'll make sure he gets a girl worthy of him and make him build a warm family. Keith, how many times do I have to tell you? I don't have such desire. That's right. The human's follower's name was Keith. He was the childhood friend of the Demon King. An impressive and gentle young man with chestnut-colored curly hair. When he was little, there was an episode where he was saved by the Demon King, and even after Claude was persecuted by the humans, he decided to follow him as well. But this person proposed a marriage to Claude-sama, right? Although according to rumors, she's not a good lady. We should give her taste in men some credits because she chose Claude-sama. Just from that, right? But if the king himself said that he wishes to keep this human woman, I'll make some preparation. You don't have to make that preparation, Beelzebub. Beelzebub was his follower from the demon side. He is a long-haired, cold beauty, and a demon who was convinced that a devil is more vile than an ugly monster. He was a loyal servant of the Demon King Claude, who will obey his every word. It's okay, Claude-sama. After all, even with that kind of reputation, in the end, she's going to live in this castle. I'll make sure to properly educate her so that she can be a proper bride for Claude-sama. I told you, you don't have to do that, Keith. Keith just not listening. Neither is Beelzebub. They're just like, oh, you got an engagement. Let's go ahead and make a party. So the one who has to make the preparation to keep this human woman is our king? Why are you both trying to push her onto me? Because you're not actually angry, aren't you, king? That strikes of lightning happened because you were surprised. I heard a sound of agreement from Beelzebub's word. Then Keith quickly added, That's right, when Cloud Sama gets angry, there'll be an earthquake or volcanic eruptions, and thus the effect will be far more severe. And if you get so mad, you'll turn into a dragon. But please don't leave me by becoming a dragon, okay? I see. So that was lightning of shock, not anger. I really thought with the way it was aimed at me, it was meant to kill me or something. Feeling a little relieved, Irene tried to open up her eyes slightly. To say that it was as I thought, I believe the view over there was definitely better than the one I saw in the CGs. And that is the end of this chapter. So thank you all for being here. Hopefully you enjoyed the artwork that played while I read. Remember to stay hydrated. My jaw hurts. I think it's because, I've been stressed and kind of, panicking, but trying to figure out a plan for the panic. And it's just not working, so my body's trying to shut down. But I also need to practice my talking. So, remember to stay hydrated. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and leave a comment or like the video so that the algorithm shows it to other people and I know that you enjoy this content and that I will read more of this. So yeah, thank you very much. Bye-bye!